Hello, creators, and welcome to Rediscovering Be Something Wonderful, where we revisit timeless classics from deep within our video archives. What if you've had the idea of wish fulfilled backwards? What if you don't become fulfilled when your desire manifests, but your desire manifests because you are already fulfilled? In this video, you'll rediscover why looking to the physical world for proof creates a reality of waiting to be fulfilled, but never being it. Why fulfillment is not something your desire gives you, and why the secret is to bring the fulfillment that you are to everything you desire. Because fulfillment isn't the result of getting what you want. Fulfillment is who you are. Now, let's rediscover the extraordinary simplicity of consciously creating the life of your wildest dreams. Welcome back to Be Something Wonderful.
I had a great session yesterday with a client, and that was a follow-up. And during this session, she actually called just to tell me her story of what she created, and she had questions on the idea of the 3D reality being an illusion. And I want to cover both of those, but first I want to go back to when I first talked with her. And at the time, she just wasn't really happy with her life. She's in her mid-30s, and she hasn't really met anybody that she really likes. And she started worrying about, I want to get married, I want to have children, all that stuff. Also, though, she wasn't in love with her job. She wanted to get a job that was remote with more money. And so we had talked about that. And what I talked with her about, as she reminded me yesterday, was that she was really focused on telling the story of what she wants and what she doesn't have, but not the story of fulfillment, not the story of where she wants to be. And she said, well, I really have a hard time telling that story. And I said, well, really, forget about that. Just stop telling the story of non-fulfillment. Do you hear this? Because when you stop telling the story of non-fulfillment, the grid will fill in. The story will fill in. What you really want will start being told from that place of knowing within you. That's what we had talked about. And sure enough, she's been dating someone now for a few weeks, not a long time. There's no marriage in sight, but she's pretty happy about that. She got a job offer for remote with a little bit more money, not a ton more, but everything's moving sort of in her direction. What changed? What changed was she just simply stopped telling the story of non-fulfillment. And now she's getting very comfortable, because as we talked yesterday, we talked more about this idea. Now she can really create that story of what she really wants. She's starting feeling more comfortable with her inner power, with her inner authority to tell that story. And so I wanted to touch on that. I want to touch on this today. And I also wanted to touch on one of her questions about one of the things the reason she had trouble telling the story, she believes that it's made up or that's just going to be an illusion. And she goes, what's the point if 3D is just an illusion? And here's the thing, guys. Here's what I want to say. When we talk about illusions, we're not saying that 3D reality doesn't exist. It exists. We're saying that when we talk about illusion, we're saying things are not what they appear to be. That there's a greater reality behind it. So it's real for sure. While you're in it, it's real. Why? Because behind it is consciousness. Behind it is ultimate reality. Just like, and we had talked about the ego self as well yesterday. And she goes, well, the ego is an illusion. I go, yes, but what's behind that illusion? That sense of I am, that sense of who you are. Even though she goes, well, the ego really does feel real to me. I go, the reason it does is because of the I am, because who you truly are is behind it. Because you're feeling who you truly are. That's why the ego feels so real, because behind it is the real I am. Do you see this? So it's not really about whether it's that yes, the ego is an illusion in that sense, but it exists through your I am. Yes, it's made up, but it exists through your I am. So it's really not a question about real and unreal. The idea of an illusion means it's not what it seems. And your ego is not what it seems. Behind that is your true being, your I am. So here, guys, I want to talk about these ideas and more. So here's what I want to say, and this is what I said to my client yesterday and others. Looking for proof, signs, and evidence of your wish fulfilled out there implies you haven't created it and manifested it within. Do you see that? When you're telling the story of non-fulfillment, well, let me say this, when you're looking outside, out there in 3D reality, when will it manifest? Is it manifested? You're not telling the story of fulfillment. Hear this. You're telling the story of non-fulfillment. That's what I was getting at with this client, right? She was telling the story of non-fulfillment, looking for signs and proof and evidence that her life's changing, right? And it's looking out there. It implies then you haven't created it within. You haven't manifested it within. You haven't created the inner reality that then becomes the outer reality. It was the story or the inner speech of non-fulfillment. That's what she was telling. So the first step is just stop telling that story, right? And then you've cleared the slate, right? Just like a movie, stop showing that movie and the screen goes blank. Then you can determine what movie you want to show next. Do you hear it? Just stop showing the movie, the horror movie, or the drama that you don't like, right? Show the romantic comedy. That's what you want, right? But the first step is just stop showing the horror movie, right? So there is no out there. That's John Wheeler, right? The scientist. There's no out there. It's all within you. Any question about the manifestation of your desire, hear this, implies you have not fully embodied or identified with your desire. That's what's going on. So you're telling the story of non-fulfillment. You're telling the story of non-embodiment, not identifying with your desire, right? It really is as simple as setting your attention, being aware of your I am awareness, and then letting that inner authority, that inner power within you, bring it about in 3D manifestation. It really is about that, right? This is what happened, right? You still believe and perceive it as something separate and outside of you. That's what's going on when you're looking out there, right? You still believe and perceive it as something separate and outside of you. So the idea that I talked about with her is that in fact, it's like you have a desire for a better life, a desire to meet someone, a desire to get married and have kids someday. All of that's good. All of those desires are good. Remember, desire is to know yourself. All desires to know yourself as God, to know yourself as source, to express yourself as a creator. But when you're stuck in telling the story of non-fulfillment, it's a desire looking for fulfillment. You're a desire that's out there, that's separate from you, looking for fulfillment within. Instead, bring fulfillment to your desire. You're already fulfilled. You're already a fully fulfilled being. So bring that fulfillment to that desire. Do you see that? Instead of carrying around that desire and telling the story like that it's not there yet, bring fulfillment to it. You're believing, seeing, perceiving the world from an old version or an old concept or identity of yourself. Instead, bring fulfillment to your desires. In other words, embody your desires. Embody your wish fulfilled. Imagine your wish fulfilled. Assume it while being conscious of your I am. Right? This is what Scripture says. Delight yourself in the Lord. In other words, the law of being, the law of love, the law of life that we talked about in the previous video, right? Delight in that, and He will give you, and when Scripture says delight, it means be conscious of your I am. Be conscious of your Creator, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Your heart's desires. But what are heart's desires? What does that really mean? Heart's desires means the desire that you embody and assume and imagine in your imagination within. It's the reality you create within. It's what you identify with within. Right? That's what we're talking about. Yes, all thoughts, feelings, perceptions, images are, in effect, illusions, right? In that sense. But they're real because of the reality behind them. right? But really, what's the definition between what's real and what's not real? It's not really, you don't have to make a distinction because everything's real. The real distinction is what's temporary and what's permanent. What's permanent is your I amness, your love that you're made of, that peace that passes all understanding, as Scripture says. That's real. That's ultimate reality. Everything else, all the thoughts, feelings, perceptions, images, your ego, everything else is temporary. The body, everything you see in 3D reality is temporary. So it's real, but it's temporary. That's what we mean by an illusion. It's not what it appears to be, right? What it really is that truth behind it, that love behind it that never changes, it never disappears. Everything else that's temporary disappears. So it's really the distinction of what's temporary, what comes and goes, including the body, and what's truth. What's that peace, that love, that God power, that God substance that never changes and never goes away. That's what you're made of. You're eternal. You're forevermore. That's powerful. So your heart's desires is about the desire that you embody within your heart. That's what Scripture was talking about. And this is what else it says in Scripture. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. Again, look at how timeless this is. You will seek me and find me, meaning seeking equals finding. There's no possibility of non-fulfillment. There's no possibility of finding that I am. You are that I am, right? When you search for me with all your heart. In other words, when you go within. When you be still and know that you're God. Be still and know that you're fulfillment. It's a sure thing. You embody and identify with your desire and fulfillment, right? That's what we're talking about. Bring fulfillment to that desire, right? It's already within you, right? Instead of having the desire as something outside of you, right? Bring it in to fulfillment, right? Seek equals find equals being one with your desire in your imagination, your I am awareness. He will not find him, I am, by rummaging through conditions and effects. You will not find him. In other words, you'll not find your fulfillment. You'll not find that I am awareness, that who you really are, by rummaging through conditions and effects, old beliefs, in other words, of the 3D world. Everything you're looking at are old beliefs or old assumptions of who you were and not who you are in this now moment, this eternal now moment. It's always changing. So that 3D reality is just old you, old identity, always. Right? And if you're going to be rummaging through that, you'll never find what you want. You're always going to be seeking and not finding, right? So you have to go within. Who you are now can't be found there in the outside world, right? The outside conditions. Only evidence of who you were in a no longer desired reality. All that you're going to find out in the 3D conditions and telling the story of non-fulfillment is who you were in a reality that you no longer desire. That's all you're going to see. Wow, that's powerful. So be unmoved by anything. Hear this. Know your desired end. Assume your desired end. Imagine your desired end. Even stop telling the story of non-fulfillment and be unmoved by anything that doesn't align with your new identity and your desired end of wish fulfilled. Be unmoved. It doesn't mean resist it. Just dismiss it. Be dispassionate about it. It's not important because it's not part of what you want to be now. You are one with all that is. You are fulfillment in all your desires. You're one with all that. Any belief less than that is a limiting belief. Hear this. We get so hung up on beliefs, what's limiting and what's not. The one belief is you're one with all that is. You're one with fulfillment. You're one with your desires. Any belief less than that is a limiting belief. But you get to determine that. So your intention or your desire is a choice, hear this, to experience some aspect of all that you already are. You're going to decide. You're going to make a choice. You're going to believe nothing and then decide what you want to intend and what you want to become, right? It's a letting go of desiring and resisting and just resting in fulfillment, right? Remember, that's all ego is. That's all that temporary stuff is. It's just us going between desiring and resistance, desiring and resistance. So someone who is maybe has a garden and wants rain, wants it to rain. Someone that wants to go play an outside sport wants sunshine. They both, so when it rains, so think about this. So one of them is desiring rain, the other is resisting it. But that's what we're always doing. We're either desiring something or resisting something, instead of resting in that fulfillment and just simply making a choice of what we want and moving towards it, letting that higher power unfold, letting fulfillment reveal itself within us. Right? Remember, when you're seeking something as that I am John, or I am Joy, or I am Melanie, or whatever you call yourself, within you, that's your I am. That's really fulfillment seeking fulfillment, right? Because you're not that separate self. You're one with everything. You're already fulfilled. Do you hear this? So trust in your inner authority, your I am, with such a deep knowing that any question about fulfillment makes no sense. Do you hear this? Any question about whether it's fulfilled or not makes no sense. You are fulfilled. Trust in that. It's beyond the mental act of thinking of it. It's an embodiment. It's a remembrance. Because when you're thinking of it, you get caught up in the story of non-fulfillment. But when you embody it, when you say you're it, it makes no sense to tell any other story. Knowing your desire exists in your imagination, simply expect its fulfillment in the outer world. This is what Neville Goddard says. It's perfect. Knowing your desire exists in your imagination. Everything exists, right? Remember, the illusion is that everything's not what it seems, but everything exists. There's only ultimate reality, and everything comes from that ultimate reality, comes and goes from that, right? Knowing your desire exists in your imagination, simply expect its fulfillment in the outer world. Bring fulfillment to your desire. Acceptance of the end automatically wills the means of realization. That's what we're talking about. Neville Goddard here. Bring fulfillment to your desire. Acceptance of the end automatically wills the mean of realization. I brought this one up a couple days ago. When he says that, bring fulfillment, I say, well, this is what I'm saying, bring fulfillment to your desire. Neville Goddard says acceptance of the end automatically wills the means of realization. What's he talking about? What is the means then? Right? Acceptance of the end automatically wills the means. Well, let's look at this. The means is that greater power. How does that greater power work? It works through your persistent assumption of the wish fulfilled, right? Persistent assumption of the wish fulfilled is the means of fulfilling the intention or your wish. As we control our inner talking, matching it to our fulfilled desires, we can lay aside all other processes. This is big. This is what Neville's talking about with persistence. It's not effort. Right? And again, it's about not telling your old story, right? Matching your inner state to matching your wish fulfilled to your inner state, to your inner conversations, right? Persistent assumption of wish fulfilled is the means of fulfilling the intention. So your I am awareness, that I am, that inner authority, plus the intention to be, do, or have what you desire or what you choose is fulfillment. That's what fulfillment is. It's that awareness or that inner authority, your awareness of your I am, your awareness of your inner power, plus the intention to be or have what you choose to be or have. Right? It's an intention. That's fulfillment. That is who you are. Non-fulfillment is about desiring and resisting, right? Desiring, resisting, wanting, and all of that, and needing. All of that is non-fulfillment. All of that's resisting and desiring. Someone even said on the channel, well, I don't get it. How do I stop needing? You don't need needing. Needing is believing that you're not this I am awareness, that you're not this power, that you can't intend and choose to have what you want to have. That somehow the certainty's up in the air. Right? And that you cannot, that there's a possibility of non-fulfillment. There's a possibility of not getting what you want. There's not. It's who you are, right? Bring fulfillment to the experience of your desire. In other words, bring fulfillment. Bring fulfillment to your wish and desire. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, like and share our videos. That's how we get our message out. You can follow us on Facebook at Be Something Wonderful. You can also, guys, join our group, the Ambassadors on Facebook. That's on facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful. It's a totally open group, and you can share insights and guidance and also get insight and guidance from other members and share your stories. Also, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Kearin, or just visit our website anytime at tomkearin.com or besomethingwonderful.com, where all of that information is there and more. Creators, until next time, with great love, with great light, and infinite gratitude, see you soon.